Imagine being in ancient China, a bustling, colorful world filled with golden palaces, noisy markets, silk garments, and tea ceremonies. But the big question is, how did ancient China get so rich? Was it magic? Good luck? Nope. It was a mix of hard work, clever ideas, and some secret weapons, like actual silkworms. Let's take a journey to understand how China turned itself into one of the wealthiest civilizations in history. Farming magic. The power of rice, silk, and tea. China's story of wealth starts in the fields. The land around the Yellow and Yangtze rivers was incredibly fertile, which means it was perfect for farming. And what did they grow? Rice. Not only was rice filling, but it was also easy to grow and could feed a whole lot of people. This steady food source was crucial because when people had enough to eat, they could spend time on other things like inventing, trading, and yes, making money. Rice was so important that it became a part of China's identity. Families would gather around bowls of rice, sharing meals that sparked conversations and connections. The more rice they produced, the wealthier the families became. To ensure their crops flourished, farmers learned about irrigation techniques, using dikes and canals to control water supply. They even created rice terraces in mountainous areas, allowing them to cultivate rice in places where it seemed impossible. It was as if they were building a green staircase to prosperity. But rice wasn't the only magic crop. Enter the silkworms. These tiny, wiggly bugs could spin threads so soft and shiny they looked like liquid moonlight. One day, an empress sipping her tea, or so the legend goes, spotted a little cocoon in her cup. She pulled it out and unraveled it, and voila, she discovered silk. Silk was so special that China guarded the secret of making it as if it were the emperor's personal pin code. Anyone who tried to smuggle silkworms out of China faced severe punishments. This trade secret turned silk into the ultimate status symbol for foreigners, who were willing to trade ridiculous amounts of gold and goods to get their hands on it. The demand for silk grew so much that China became known as the land of silk. The process of making silk was labor-intensive and required skill, making it even more valuable. Silk became a currency of its own, and it was often used as a gift to show respect. Imagine royal officials exchanging silk as if it were the latest trendy smartphone. Everyone wanted it. And then there was tea. At first, it was just a plant growing wild in the mountains. But eventually, Chinese farmers figured out how to cultivate it, and drinking tea turned from a mountain thing into a cultural phenomenon. People in China realized that tea was not only refreshing, but could be used in ceremonies, as medicine, and even as a gift to show respect. Soon, tea became a must-have item, both at home and abroad. By the time other countries caught wind of it, tea had become one of China's top exports, raking in even more cash. Tea quickly became synonymous with social gatherings and diplomacy. Imagine an emperor pouring fragrant tea for visiting dignitaries. Talk about class. The British later developed their own love for tea, eventually leading to famous events like the Boston Tea Party, which ironically started a whole different kind of revolution. In short, between rice, silk, and tea, China had three major money makers growing right out of their ground. They were so valuable that some historians called them the cash crops of ancient China. Not bad for a bunch of plants and worms, right? The Silk Road of seafaring adventures. The Silk Road is one of history's most famous trade routes. But let's clear something up. It wasn't an actual road covered in silk. It was more like a superhighway of connected paths stretching from China all the way to the Mediterranean, winding through deserts, mountains, and countless cultures along the way. Merchants traveled these paths with caravans of camels loaded with silk, spices, jade, tea, and fine porcelain. Each stop along the Silk Road brought China's goods closer to Europe, and every exchange along the way piled up the riches for Chinese traders. Imagine being a merchant on the Silk Road, trudging through sandstorms and rocky mountains with your precious silk and jade. It wasn't an easy journey. Bandits were common, and the journey took months. But if you made it to the bustling marketplaces of Persia or Rome, the rewards were huge. Foreign traders were willing to pay with gold, silver, gemstones, and spices, all in exchange for a bit of China's silk or tea. Merchants often shared stories of their travels. Some told tales of ferocious sandstorms that seemed to swallow entire caravans, while others recounted encounters with mysterious people in distant lands. These stories added to the allure of trade, sparking the imagination of those who heard them. But China didn't just rely on the Silk Road. They also took to the seas with massive ships called junks. These were no ordinary boats. Junks were sturdy and spacious, able to carry huge amounts of goods across long distances. Chinese sailors traveled to Southeast Asia, India, and even East Africa. Imagine a Chinese junk ship pulling into a harbor of Africa, the sails flapping and the deck loaded with colorful porcelain, tea, and silk. Locals were thrilled, and China's merchants traded for ivory, precious stones, and even rare animals, which were brought back to China as treasures. The maritime trade was filled with excitement and adventure. Stories of sea monsters and treacherous waves made their rounds among sailors. It was a wild world out there, and traders were not only selling goods but also trading legends and cultures. Some even brought back exotic foods and spices that changed Chinese cuisine forever. These trade networks made China fabulously wealthy and brought exotic goods and ideas back to their shores. Each journey was an adventure, and every successful trip was like a payday, bringing in riches from all over the world. It's no wonder that merchants were considered some of the wealthiest people in ancient China. Mind-blowing inventions that printed money. The Chinese weren't just great farmers and traders, they were also incredible inventors. Many of these things they invented changed the world and brought in huge amounts of wealth. One of their most famous inventions was paper. Before paper, people wrote on bamboo, silk, or even animal bones. But these materials were expensive, heavy, or hard to find. Then, a clever official named Kai Lun figured out how to make paper from old fishing nets, tree bark, and rags. Suddenly, paper was everywhere. Government documents, books, art, and even money. It was easier to carry and much cheaper than writing on bamboo or silk, which meant more people could afford to write and read. With paper in hand, students could jot down notes without breaking the bank. Imagine the chaos if everyone had to carry around scrolls made of bamboo. Students would be tripping over their backpacks, and teachers would lose their voices shouting about not chewing on the writing materials. Paper revolutionized communication, making it accessible to the masses. Next up was printing, a brilliant invention that allowed people to make multiple copies of documents without writing each one by hand. Printing made it easy to spread knowledge, ideas, and even news. More people learned to read and more ideas were shared. And since books and information were now affordable, it created a society that was more educated, productive, and innovative. The printing press became a game changer, allowing for the rapid spread of literature and culture. It also enabled the production of religious texts, leading to a more literate population. Imagine the excitement of seeing your favorite poem in print and sharing it with friends instead of having to recite it from memory. And then there was gunpowder. Believe it or not, Chinese alchemists accidentally invented gunpowder while trying to make an immortality potion. Though it didn't make anyone live forever, it did help create fireworks and military weapons, which China used to defend its borders. Fireworks became a symbol of celebration, and gunpowder played a role in protecting China's wealth by keeping out invaders. Every festival in ancient China became a reason to celebrate with colorful fireworks lighting up the night sky. It was a way to showcase their wealth, creativity, and festive spirit. Gunpowder also found its way into military innovations, giving China an edge in warfare and further protecting their treasures. One of the most practical inventions for traders was the compass. Before, sailors relied on stars to navigate, which wasn't very helpful on cloudy nights. With the compass, Chinese sailors could explore and trade much more safely, bringing in even more riches. Sailors who had the compass felt like they had a superpower. No more guessing which way was north. They could set their course confidently. This led to the exploration of new lands and more trading opportunities. Imagine the tales of adventure as they ventured into uncharted waters, charting new territories and returning with stories of sea dragons and hidden treasures. Each of these inventions made life better, but they also opened doors to wealth. Paper helped create an educated society, printing spread knowledge, gunpowder protected the empire, and the compass expanded trade routes. China wasn't just inventing for fun. They were setting up the stage for an empire of innovation and prosperity. The government's role in making and managing money. The emperors of ancient China weren't just figureheads. They were savvy leaders who knew how to keep the economy booming. First, they set up an organized tax system. Farmers paid part of their crops as taxes, ensuring the government always had food stores. When people paid taxes in crops or goods, it helped fund public projects like roads, bridges, and city walls, which made trade easier and safer. Then there was the Grand Canal, a massive man-made waterway connecting northern and southern China. This wasn't just any canal. It was like a superhighway for rice, silk, and tea. Boats could travel along the canal, bringing goods and people across the country quickly and efficiently. The canal became an economic lifeline for China, allowing trade between cities and making sure that food and supplies reached people even in far-off regions. Building the Grand Canal wasn't easy. It took years of hard work, thousands of laborers, and tons of engineering prowess. But once completed, it transformed the landscape. Imagine bustling boats filled with rice and silk zipping past farmers, waving hello while children splashed in the water. It was a scene straight out of a lively festival. And let's not forget about one of the coolest inventions of all, paper money. Instead of carrying heavy bags of coins, people could now carry lightweight paper notes. Paper money made trading easier, and it also gave the government a way to control the flow of money in the economy. The government carefully managed how much paper money was printed, preventing inflation, at least most of the time. Ancient China was one of the first places in the world to use paper currency, which shows just how forward-thinking their economic systems were. Picture this: a merchant goes to the market, hands over a piece of paper, and walks away with a beautiful silk robe. No more clinking coins or struggling to count the exact change. This innovation not only simplified transaction, but also made it easier to track wealth, taxes, and trade. With organized taxes, huge public projects, and a groundbreaking currency system, China's leaders turned the empire into an economic powerhouse. It wasn't just about making money. It was about creating a system that could manage, protect, and grow wealth for generations. Confucianism, Daoism, and the secret to success. What made China's wealth sustainable wasn't just their economy or inventions, it was their culture. Confucianism was a system of beliefs that taught people to be respectful, disciplined, and hardworking. Families valued education, communities worked together, and everyone had a role to play. The result? A stable, orderly society where people worked hard and supported each other. Confucian values promoted harmony and respect for authority, which meant people were more likely to work together for the greater good. This was important because managing a huge empire takes teamwork. If everyone believed in the same values, society ran smoothly, trade flourished, and wealth accumulated without major conflicts. Families held a strong emphasis on education, and the goal of sending children to school became a priority. Confucian scholars became the elite of society, and their teachings spread throughout the land, creating a literate and productive citizenry. The saying, "it takes a village to raise a child," was alive and well in ancient China. Daoism, another major belief system in China, encouraged people to live in balance with nature and appreciate simplicity. Daoism taught people to value harmony in the world, which meant they respected their environment, practiced sustainability agriculture, and found peace in simple things. Daoism's focus on simplicity and balance helped China maintain its resources and keep its economy stable. Taoists would often retreat to nature, enjoying the beauty of the mountains and rivers while pondering life's great mysteries. It was the original Zen approach, long before yoga pants were invented. This philosophy encouraged a lifestyle that respected the earth, which is vital when farming, trading, and living off the land. Together, Confucianism and Daoism created a balanced society that wasn't just focused on money, but also on harmony, respect, and stability. It's like having an ancient work hard, stay humble philosophy that helped China manage its wealth without going overboard. Conclusion. So there you have it, the colorful tale of how ancient China became fabulously rich. It's a story woven with threads of rice, silk, and tea, stitched together with innovation, trade, and a bit of humor. From clever farming techniques to adventurous trade routes, from mind-blowing inventions to a culture that valued harmony, ancient China was not just a wealthy empire, it was a pioneer in what it means to thrive. As we reflect on this journey, let's remember the key takeaways. That a strong foundation in agriculture can sustain an empire, that innovation can lead to prosperity, and that a united society can achieve great things. The lessons learned from ancient China continue to resonate today, reminding us that wealth is not merely about accumulating riches, but about building a legacy that stands the test of time. Now, who's ready for some tea?